Hey everyone, and welcome back to Talk Tickers. We always bring you the most interesting earnings calls, and this one is no different. We're going to take a deep dive today into Philip Morris International's Q4 2024 earnings call.
Buckle up.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
It was a big one.
Yep.
They just blew past $10 billion in adjusted net earnings.
For the first time ever, right?
For the first time ever, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really kind of wild to see how their big shift to smoke-free is playing out.
Yeah, and it's really paying off for them, too. There's smoke-free products, like you've got IQOS, you've got ZYN. They brought in almost $15 billion last year.
Wow.
Which is like 40% of their total revenue.
40%?
Yeah. So that means their cigarette business, their combustible products, those are still doing really well, too.
So it's like they're kind of playing both sides, keeping the old school cigarette business going while they build up this whole new smoke-free empire.
Exactly. Yeah. They're not ditching the old reliable just yet, right? They're keeping it chugging along. They even call it a multi-category strategy. It's basically they want to give smokers all these different options if they want to switch. So they've got heated tobacco like IQOS. They've got the nicotine pouches with ZYN, even e-vapor products like VEEV.
So they're not just saying, hey, quit smoking. They're saying, hey, here are all these different ways you can enjoy nicotine if you don't want to smoke traditional cigarettes.
Exactly. It's like they're aiming to be the Amazon of the smoke-free world.
Like the one-stop shop.
Exactly. Give consumers everything they could possibly want all in one place. And the crazy thing is it seems to be working. EYN is like their star player right now, especially here in the U.S. It grew a crazy 51% in 2024.
That's insane.
Yeah, they actually had supply shortages because demand was so high.
Wait, they couldn't make enough ZYN?
Nope. Not even close. People wanted it and they just couldn't keep up.
That's a good problem to have, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then on top of that, they got this huge regulatory win. ZYN is now the first and only nicotine pouch to get full FDA authorization.
Oh, wow. That's going to be huge for them.
Huge competitive edge right there.
Yeah.
Nobody else can say that.
Yeah. So ZYN is definitely killing it. But what's really impressive to me is how profitable this whole smoke-free thing is getting.
Yeah.
Their gross profit margins for these products were 66.6% for the year.
66.6%. That's wild, especially when you compare it to their combustible products, right?
Yeah.
Like the profit margin there is so much higher.
You can see why they're so excited about this whole shift.
Yeah, exactly. And those high margins, that gives them all this financial firepower to invest in research and development.
So they can come out with even more new smoke-free products.
Yeah, and maybe even completely new categories that we haven't even thought of yet.
It's like a snowball effect, right? The more successful they are, the more they can invest and the more they innovate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're playing the long game here, and it's paying off. But we can't forget about their traditional cigarette business, right? It's still making them a ton of money.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like a cash cow.
Exactly. And they're doing a really good job of managing that side of the business. They're squeezing out profit growth through pricing and cost efficiencies. So they're really milking it for all it's worth. Yeah, it's almost like they're using the profits from cigarettes to fund their smoke-free future.
Yeah, basically. It's a pretty clever strategy when you think about it.
All right, so let's zoom in a bit on some of their individual smoke-free products. What's the story with IQOS?
Okay, so IQOS, that's their heated tobacco product, right? It's doing really well, especially in Japan. They've got like a 30.6% market share over there.
Wow, that's a huge chunk of the market.
Yeah, they're the dominant player in Japan. And they're making progress in Europe too, even with all those flavor bans they've been dealing with. But the big question mark is the U.S. market.
Yeah, because they haven't really launched it here yet, right?
They've done some small-scale launches, but they're still waiting for that FDA authorization for their newest IQOS iLume device.
So it's kind of a waiting game for them in the U.S.?
Yeah, exactly. And in the meantime, they're facing those supply chain issues with ZYN.
Right. How are they going to meet that demand?
They're working on it. They're ramping up production at their facility in Kentucky, and they're even building a brand new facility in Colorado.
So they're investing heavily in ZYN.
They're going all in. It's clear they see it as a huge growth driver for them.
Which makes sense, given how popular it's become. Okay, but let's shift gears a bit and talk about their overall financial performance. They hit record operating cash flow in 2024, didn't they?
Yeah, they did $12.2 billion, which is way above what they initially projected.
So they're swimming in cash.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Strong profits, good financial management, it all adds up. And that strong cash flow, along with their strong adjusted EBITDA, it's help them improve their leverage ratio significantly.
So they're in a really solid financial position.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And they're projecting continued growth across all their categories for 2025.
So they're optimistic about the future.
Very optimistic.
Okay, well, that's all really interesting stuff. But, we always like to have a little fun on this show. So are you ready for a wild, this is not financial advice segment?
Oh, yeah. Always up for some speculation.
Okay, so hear me out. What if PMI goes full disruptor on us and launches a subscription service?
A subscription service?
Yeah, like imagine this. A monthly fee, and you get a curated box of all their latest smoke-free goodies.
Okay, I'm listening.
And it's personalized based on your preferences. So like maybe you love menthol, or maybe you're really into those new fruity flavors. Yeah. Whatever you're into, they send you a box of stuff tailored just for you.
So like a Netflix for nicotine.
Exactly. Keep you stocked up with the latest and greatest from their whole portfolio.
That's actually a really interesting idea.
Right. It could be a total game changer. They could collect data on what people like, personalize their offerings even further, and create this loyal subscriber base who are always trying the newest stuff.
It's bold, it's innovative, and it taps into that whole subscription trend that's everywhere right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Outrageous. Maybe plausible. Absolutely.
It would definitely be something to see.
For sure. But remember, folks, this is all purely hypothetical.
Don't go investing based on this conversation.
Exactly. But it's always fun to think about the possibilities, right?
Absolutely. And speaking of possibilities, let's shift gears a bit and talk about some of the challenges and opportunities PMI might face as they continue on this path to smoke-free dominance.
Sounds good to me. Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be back in a flash with part 2 of our deep dive.
All right, welcome back to Talk Tickers. We're continuing our deep dive here into Philip Morris International's Q4 2024 earnings call.
Yeah.
Last time we were talking about their amazing financial performance and their big ambition to be like the Amazon of the smoke-free world.
It's a bold vision for sure.
Wow, yeah. But no company is perfect, right? They've got some challenges ahead, too.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like for PMI, the biggest one might be all the regulations they got to deal with. They're facing flavor bans in some European countries.
Yeah.
And they're still waiting on that FDA authorization for the IQOS ILUMA device here in the U.S.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's like they're trying to navigate this maze, but they're blindfolded.
I like that analogy.
Yeah. These regulatory processes, they can take forever, and you never know what's going to happen. It makes it tough for companies like PMI to really plan things out.
So it's a lot of uncertainty.
A lot of uncertainty. And they've had some wins, like you said. ZYN got that FDA approval, but there's still a lot up in the air, especially when it comes to the heated tobacco products like IQOS.
Okay, so how are they approaching this whole regulatory thing? Are they just sitting back and waiting, or are they being proactive?
Oh, they're definitely not passive. They're working it. They're talking directly to regulators, doing all these scientific studies to prove that their products can actually help people reduce harm from smoking. And they're trying to educate people, both consumers and policymakers, about why switching to smoke-free is a good thing.
So it's like they're playing the long game, building trust, and showing that they're serious about this.
Exactly, yeah. It's a long-term strategy. But what other hurdles do you think they might face along the way besides the regulatory stuff?
Competition, obviously.
Yeah.
There are other big tobacco companies out there, and then there's all these new players popping up in the smoke-free market all the time.
Yeah, it's a crowded space.
Very crowded. So they can't just sit back and relax. They got to keep innovating and find ways to stand out.
Absolutely. They got to keep developing new and improved products, expanding into new markets, and finding new ways to reach consumers. It's a constant race.
Yeah, and speaking of reaching consumers, marketing these smoke-free products isn't easy either. There are all these restrictions on advertising, and I got to be careful not to target young people.
Oh, yeah. It's a delicate balance for sure. They got to find those adult smokers who are actually looking for alternatives. But they also have to be responsible and make sure they're not influencing kids to start using these products.
It's a tough line to walk. So it's not just about making good products. It's about navigating this whole web of rules and marketing challenges.
It's the whole package.
Okay. But let's not just focus on the negative stuff. What are some of the exciting opportunities you see for PMI in the future?
Well, their multi-category strategy is a big advantage, right? Having all these different smoke-free products means they can appeal to a wider range of people. Some smokers might like heated tobacco, others might prefer the pouches or vapes. It's all about giving people choices.
Yeah, like a buffet of options.
Exactly. And with ZYN doing so well, especially here in the U.S., that's a huge opportunity for them.
Yeah, if they can keep up with that demand, ZYN could be massive for them.
Yeah, for sure. But they're not putting all their eggs in one basket either. They're also looking at new markets where smoke-free products haven't really taken off yet.
So they're thinking globally.
Oh, yeah. They're looking for new frontiers.
That's smart.
Yeah.
But what about technology? How are they using that to stay ahead of the curve?
Well, look at the IQOS Iluma. It's a much more advanced heated tobacco product than what they had before. They're putting a lot of money into research and development to create the next generation of smoke-free stuff. And you remember that this is not financial advice segment we did.
Oh yeah, the Netflix for nicotine idea.
Exactly. That kind of outside-the-box thinking could really shake things up in the industry.
Yeah, it shows that they're not just content with being a tobacco company anymore. They want to be leaders in this whole smoke-free revolution.
It's ambitious, but you can see how they're setting themselves up for it.
They definitely have the resources, the expertise, and the drive to make it happen. But like we said, it's going to take a lot of work. They got to keep innovating, build the right partnerships, and really understand what consumers want.
It's a big challenge. But if they can pull it off and create this whole ecosystem for smokers, their vision of being the Amazon of the smoke-free world might actually become a reality.
It's definitely an interesting story to watch unfold.
Yeah.
We covered a lot in this segment. It's clear that PMI has both big challenges and big opportunities ahead.
Yeah, they're at a turning point. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens next.
All right, well, let's wrap up our deep dive with some final thoughts and predictions in our next segment.
Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be back shortly to tie it all together.
Welcome back to Talk Tickers. It's the final part of our deep dive into Philip Morris International's Q4 2024 earnings call. We've talked about their numbers, their strategy, even threw out some wild ideas.
Yeah, we went kind of crazy with that Netflix for nicotine idea.
Hey, you never know. But now it's time to bring it all together. What are the big takeaways here? What should our listeners remember about this whole PMI story?
I think the biggest thing is this is a company that is completely transforming themselves. You know, their commitment to smoke-free, it's not just some PR stunt. It's real. They're putting their money where their mouth is.
It's a pretty incredible shift when you think about it. You know, this is the company that built itself on cigarettes. And now they're leading the charge towards a world without them.
It's like they flipped the script. And the crazy part is they're not just surviving this change. They're actually doing incredibly well. Their smoke-free products are already a huge part of their business. And that's only going to get bigger.
Yeah, it's like they found a whole new way to make money. And a lot of it.
But we can't forget about the old reliable cigarette business either. They're still making bank on that. And they're using those profits to fuel their smoke-free ambitions.
It's a smart strategy. Use the old to build the new.
Exactly. So looking ahead, what do you think? What's in store for PMI? Do you think they can really pull off this whole Amazon of smoke-free thing?
I think they've got a real shot. They've got all the pieces in place, you know, a wide range of products, a history of innovation, and tons of money to invest. They're expanding globally. They're building partnerships. It's all coming together.
Yeah, they're creating this whole smoke-free world for their customers. And it's working, but it's not going to be easy, right? They still have to deal with all those regulations, and the competition is fierce.
Yeah, they're in a good spot. But they got to keep pushing if they want to stay on top.
It's like running a marathon. They've hit their stride, but they got to keep that momentum going.
Okay, so last question for you. What's the big unknown for PMI? What's the thing that could make or break their future?
Here's a thought. As PMI gets bigger and bigger in this smoke-free world, what does that mean for public health? You know, will their products actually help people reduce harm from smoking, or will we see new problems pop up down the line?
That's a good question. It's not as simple as just saying smoke-free equals healthy, right? There's a lot more to consider.
Exactly. We need to look at the evidence and have honest conversations about the risks and the benefits. But one thing is certain. Philip Morris International is changing the tobacco industry as we know it. And their choices are going to have a huge impact on everyone. Consumers, regulators, society as a whole.
It's a story that's still being written, but it's definitely one worth watching. That's it for our deep dive into Philip Morris International's Q4 2024 earnings call. Thanks for joining us here on Talk Tickers.
We'll catch you next time for another exciting earnings call breakdown.